2, 3. Hello, Pastafarian, it's me, Schizophrenic Mitch.
Hi, Skids.
Hello, this is Josephine LaRosapine. She's here hanging out with me.
Hello.
She's our producer. How long are we streaming today, Joe? 0. We're streaming for 0? Are we turning it off right now?
Like
today.
2 hours.
2 hours
no,
today?
1 hour.
1 hour today?
Yeah.
You don't even know. I thought you were the producer. Don't you have it like on a clipboard or something?
Jeez, like
Did you have it
put
like
me on the spot. And I
written
forgot.
down? Wow, yeah, my
There's
apologies.
like 0, 5.
0. 0 is how long we're streaming. That's cool. But how long have we been streaming? 0. Yeah.
That's probably accurate.
Let's have a look at this. Let's have a look at our drop frames. None so far.
That's cool.
Fingers crossed. But you know, on the weekends we get really weird sort of connection issues, eh? I think it's the NSA. Because, you know, they're trying to mess all their stuff up. They still have that one fucking video from a week or so ago blocked. The NSA, even though there's no, like, thing there telling us which one it is. Philip Sanborn says she's a government plant. Really, Joseph Incognito? Is that right, Josephine?
No.
Wait a moment.
Wait, this is yes and, huh?
I don't know.
Yes, and I'm a spy.
This is a racist spy.
Super sexy spy.
Right. Well, before we get into the show part of the show, let's get to the music part. Welcome again, Pastafarians, to our show. Today is Saturday, the 24th of August. We are here at Safe Word Studios. Today I'm drinking Coca-Cola. I don't have my berry cherry cola. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe I'll go shopping later. It's hard to know. We're getting toward the end of the Grape Stomper, the ounce of Grape Stomper that's lasted us since episode 21 or something like that. I have to check my notes. But good gracious, we're already at a full room, eh? Should expect such a thing, eh? On Saturdays, I guess. iLesson3 Trolling wonders, when have you started streaming later? It was about 10 days ago, episode 33. When we switched over to the schedule, this later schedule.
Yeah, wow. You were right about the 21 too.
I know, dude, I know, I can remember everything I've ever said during this.
Shit.
That's the point, is this is all incredibly deliberate and on purpose. I have it all planned out, all the way up to episode 172. So, we've got to get to work. Because look at all these comments. iLesson3 Trolling says, nice. Oh, because I told him a little over a week in the chat there. A little bit of cheating I done. Lils is here. Hello, Lils. Hello, also to iLesson3 Trolling and Philip Sanborn and Meridian Heights and everybody else who's here.
Yeah.
Lils says, did Jesus encourage love and kindness? Well, I suppose sometimes he did, right? Sometimes he encouraged love, sometimes he encouraged kindness. Sometimes he encouraged racism. Sometimes he encouraged sexism.
Yeah.
You know, he just was a person doing things.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I guess. Philip Sanborn says, so glad you know about Orchestra Obsolete. Yeah, that's who we were listening to there. Quite enjoyable group of people letting us enjoy their music. iLesson3 Trolling says, oh shit, wait a minute, did our ship break? No, that's not what iLesson3 Trolling says, that's what I'm saying. Because 21% of fucking shit has fucking dropped. Oh well. I mean, you know, weekend, we get these, it's the double-edged sword of the weekend, is there?
Yeah.
Lots of people can come, but we have really bad connections.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yes, but actually no. Oh, iLesson3 Trolling was responding to Lils. Good morning, Pastafarians. Good morning, Meridian Heights. Philip Sanborn says, he preaches love and kindness the way Trump preaches immigration, just a certain type, right? It's love and kindness from a certain point of view, as Obi-Wan would say.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Obi-Wan, I've heard that Ewan McGregor is up for it, eh? He's like, sure, let's do a series about the Obi-Wans. And so Disney Plus is really sort of pushing for it. Although if they wanted me to sign up for Disney Plus when it launched, they'd have the Ewan McGregor fucking thing already, right? You fucking launch with it. What are you like? And if you like, it's like buying into it, right?
Yeah.
What is that called? Early access, right? It's bullshit. I'll take the show when you have it. Isn't that right? So, gosh. Oh gosh, another subscription service. It's the worst. Are the frames going up? We've dropped 3,000 frames so far. Do you think I should reset anything? Oh shit. There go a lot more. Yeah, there go all those frames. See you later, frames. Go back to your shithole religion, as the Trump Meister would put it, says iLesson3 Trolling. Yeah, some of the things Jesus said in the Bible are absolutely beautiful, and some are terrifying. Inconsistency is not good for me. Yeah, that's a good point. Christianity, inconsistent? I call blasphemy, says iLesson3 Trolling. Yeah, Blasphemy Day is coming up, or we just missed it. It's a very enjoyable thing. Because we here, as Pastafarians, we get to celebrate blasphemy instead of fear it, right?
Yeah, encourage it.
Our God does not fear blasphemy.
Yeah.
Because he's not like these weak imaginary gods that are dispelled by blasphemy, and so they have outlawed it, right? We are the only satirical religion, in fact. The only real religion that has satire as a tool to dispel the really aggressive, like, control mythologies, right? So the fascist ideas, right? Nothing nothing mocks a fascist quite like satire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, as the only real religion with that ability, we are the ones who are clean in that circumstance, right? We have no ever-creeping fascism that all the other dogmas will you'll find that they just become more and more dogmatic and homogenized in their need of thought, whereas satirically, if you had satire, you'd be able to weed those problems out as soon as they arrive. Let's see. Lil says, I enjoyed when Jesus started flipping tables and throwing stuff. That was very interesting, right? Because yeah, he's all like, hey, everything's cool, everything's chill. Oh my god, I'm so mad I'm gonna be violent. And so like, you know, he's both, right? He's whatever you want. And so if whatever you want to do, and this is the same thing. Look, another thing that sort of happened like that is there's this like passage in the, I can't remember who said it, maybe Luke or something, where he asks the people if they have like coats or something, his 12, and they're like, yeah, we got coats, we got enough coats, more than enough, and he's like, well, sell some of your coats and buy a sword, or is it the other way? It was that they had 2 swords, and it's like, you only need one, so sell that and buy a coat. Which one was it? I don't remember. But, you know, they got Jesus talking about swords and being like, well, obviously we need swords. But maybe he only needed that sword to cut off that guy's ear later because that was going to be an important part of it. Getting some dude's ear cut off. Anyway, yeah. Yeah. Did he preach peace and love? I suppose if in the moment what you're trying to say is that he did, then you can support that. And if you want to say that he did the opposite as well, you can support that too. That is the thing about these religious traditions. You can get them to say whatever you were going to say anyway, right? That's all they're ever used for, is to support the arguments that your mind has, the things that you're thinking. And we use those scriptures to say that God's on our side, but we're really just saying God's on our side, right? Because there's no such thing as being on God's side, because he doesn't give a shit, right? He just fucking shat us out and went about his business, and then we're like, hey, let's have a relationship. And he's like, oh, really? Because generally I don't have relationships with things that I just sort of excrement into the world. I just sort of let them go do their own things. It hasn't been until you, humanity and Earth, that sort of my... I can't think of another word for poop. I was trying to be very poetic about it, but I'm going to have to reuse some of my nouns. It's embarrassing. Anyway, we're the shit that wants to hang out with you after you shit us. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
This universe.
Motherfuckers.
Yeah, and like, oh, come on, let's hang out. You're not going to leave us here, are you? Oh, I've never heard that before. Before, nobody's cared. So, then we're like, oh God, come be on our side. Philip Sanborn says, Orgra is a better Yoda. He's still mad at me about that. But, I mean, because Yoda's a liar, right? Yoda was like, still... Alright, and then here's the problem. You know Ghost Yoda comes back in the new one, right? Everyone's seen it, right? So, why the fuck is he doing, like, crazy Yoda when he's a ghost, right? You remember how when Luke met him and he was crazy Yoda? And then he stopped being that? Because it was just a sort of an act? How come when he's dead he's back to crazy Yoda? Is it because that's how Luke remembers him? Right? He thinks of him as crazy old Yoda? Is it not really Yoda? Is it just Luke pretending he's seeing Yoda?
We're just seeing inside of his crazy head.
That's right. And that's what's been going on this whole time, is Luke is fucking nuts. Is nobody else going to see ghosts except for Luke? That would be really cool. I'd like that a lot. But anyway, Yoda lied once. And just, you know, the big one, Orgra went with Jin, and Yoda stayed behind on Dagobah. Why? What's he doing on Dagobah? He's one of the greatest fucking lightsaberists in the world. Fucking Yoda and Luke could have beat Darth Vader. Fucking Yoda. Although I do like Yoda. Like, he's cute as fuck. It was really, really sad when he moved into fucking digital land.
Yeah.
That was a sad day.
Yeah.
Digital Yoda was a step backwards. You know, less than 3 trolling wonders. You know how the gospel openly admits it contains exaggerations that outright lies? Does it? Where does it? What if the statement, the gospel of the flying spaghetti monster, I got you. Yeah, it does. What if that statement was the only thing that was less than totally true? Well, then it would still qualify, right? If that was the only statement that was a lie, then it still contains a lie. And that's probably the case, right? And that's why it's in there, is just to sort of cover the case that people would say, oh no, your book contains lies. And it's like, we know it contains lies. We added the lies so that we didn't have to argue with you when you were like, blah, 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 it contains no lies. Because yours contains lies. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's sort of, it has to do with a centuries-old argument with the Christians. It's really annoying to go into these old things. You know, because, you know, some of these conversations were started a long, long time ago. So first you got to be like, well, Thomas of Aquinas said, and then they're like, oh, really? But don't forget that, I don't know anybody else, actually. That's the only one I know, Thomas of Aquinas. Justin the Martyr rebutted that blah, blah, blah. You know. Coulomb's cosmological argument. Yeah, it's annoying. It's real annoying. Oy. So that's why some of those pieces are in there. Artifacts from centuries old. Arguments that people thought were novel but really weren't. You know, they're just sort of poetry. I was like, this is not going to convince anyone not part of your group. Waiting for the prequel series on Netflix. We shall see. Padawan, we shall see. Yeah, we will. It's going to be good. We're going to get tons and tons of content, It's going to be great. I got no problem with that, right? Because the problem that we had with Star Wars when I was a kid, because I'm from the Star Wars generation, was that we only had a couple 100 minutes of Star Wars. That's it. That's all we had. And so there was a lot of space to just make shit up, right? And just talk and talk and talk. You know, we'd talk about what the Kessel Run was. We'd talk about fucking all this shit. What happened between Empire and Return, right? We just fill in all those blanks. And so, you know, it was hard to really base your argument on anything. It was really just sort of making shit up. But now that we've got this huge fucking universe, kind of like the Star Trek universe, we get to fucking be like, well, no, you're wrong, because... So I don't know, space fuel was never a thing, and now we got to deal with space fuel. We don't have enough gasoline to make the hyperjump. Sort of a thing that always has been there now. It's a very weird retconning.
Yep.
Change the name of this episode to Yoda Lied and see what happens. Yeah, right? All the Jedi-ists will come in here and start screaming at us, eh? Yeah. Well, let's see. Yoda 2. Sad face. Let's get them. And maybe the dude as well. We'll say the dude is lazy. See what happens. Save. Alright, so, you know, we were talking about Joseph the other day, or earlier today. Are you familiar, wonders, less than 3 trolling? Enough with the old expanded universe, now Star Wars Legends, to be annoyed with the new Disney canon? No. When I was, when I cared about Star Wars, and I cared about Star Wars, okay, I haven't told you guys this, but, back in 1997, I was in the High School for Geniuses, and, for our senior project, usually, you know, the high school was like, oh, the seniors will now direct and produce a Shakespeare play, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, for our senior project, we're like, hey, instead of Shakespeare play, can we do a musical that we write? Like a satirical musical that we write? And they're like, I will allow it, like that. So we did Star Wars musical for our for our senior Shakespeare play. It was very good. You can see it online. Star Wars musical, 1997, and I'm Chewbacca, as you could probably have guessed. So I am way into Star Wars. And at the time, the books and stuff were super nerd stuff. Like, you could read it, but if you said any of it in front of people who just watch the movies, you should feel like you should shut your mouth, right? Like, we'd be like, shut up, nerd. Like, that's just the books. Fucking, we're talking about the real stuff, the movies. Because we always had the feeling that they were just sort of fan fictions, right? They're just like, well, yeah, Lucas just sort of lets this happen. He doesn't give a shit what this guy writes. Yeah. It's not real. And, you know, maybe it should have been considered a bit more real than we did. Maybe we did a disservice to the universe by letting it bifurcate like that. Maybe we should have fucking been like, no, it's published, it's got the fucking thing on it, it counts. Because, the Jedi twins, right? That shit didn't happen, right? Like, unless they're trying to say that Kylo and what's-her-nuts, Rey, are the Jedi twins. Wouldn't that suck? Wouldn't that be terrible?
I call them that though, since we met them.
Joe says, fucking from day one.
Yeah.
I was like, there's the Force twins. We'll see. It'll be a lot like that fucking Lost move, where it's like, no, they're not all dead, and then they use that as the fucking premise of the 6th season, right? It's like, no, they're not the Force twins. They're the Force twins. All right. But yeah, I never read any of that. Maybe because I was a bit too lazy to get into it. Maybe because it's a bit too expensive to, like, collect it all, right? There was just too much to really keep ahead of it. But I think but I did read the fucking novelizations of the films. Like, I liked those. Because I would be able to go to those and be like, no, look, it says here that so-and-so is related to so-and-so. Because in the book, it talks about Owen's relationship to Obi-Wan, right? It calls them siblings or cousins, I think. I think they're siblings in the novelization. But, so no, I didn't really care about the old expanded universe. It was sort of too nerdy, too geeky. I was more like mainline Star Wars publications, movies. The movies are the canon. Everything else is fan fictions. Not that we called it fan fiction, because that sort of happened a bit later. We came up with that idea.
Like the name, the title.
The phrase fan fiction, yeah. Because, you know, you could call the Book of Mormon a fan fiction, right?
Yeah.
But, I mean, they didn't at the time. Are any of the original characters or actors from the original still alive? The original Star Wars films? Well, Luke is. Or the character's dead, but, I mean, his ghost is alive. Yeah, Lando's alive. Chewie's alive, right? 3PO is the... 3PO is the main character of the entire series, right? The series is through the view of 3PO and R2. I don't know what they did to R2. It really blows my mind that they just sort of have him as a cabinet now. He's just sort of sitting there being like, I'm R2. Like, poor guy. He was flying around in the prequels, right? And he forgot he had jets in the fucking originals. And then he doesn't even walk around anymore. He's just like, I'm old and tired. And then he doesn't even walk around anymore. He's just like, I'm old and tired. Bit like Marvin, right? It's a bit bizarre what they've done to... but I feel like... I always just pictured Don Rickles as R2 in my mind. Just a pissed off old dude that swears a lot because... and that's why they don't let him talk. Is because all of the swearing that R2 does. So they like, don't teach him common. The kids will hear this. So he can just do it in beeps and whistles.
Yeah.
We'll see if he actually survives the rise of Skywalker. This is Lando. Yeah, he's about to die. Right? They're going to kill him. Because we thought he was going to die in... he was supposed to die in Return, isn't that right? Like, I hear the rumors around that, like... the Falcon was not supposed to escape the second Death Star, right? It was Wedge and Lando, and like, sort of, it was originally written that Wedge gets out, right? And the Falcon, and so when that's why Nien Nunb and Lando are there, is because, like, you know, we lose the Falcon without losing Han or Chewie, you know. But we do lose Lando, but he earned it, right? You know, in the previous one for being the bad guy in the last movie, and so it was part of his redemption thing. But then they're like, you know what, fuck it, let's let everybody live. Like, okay, that's just stupid. And so, yeah, maybe Lando will finally give his life for the Resistance or whatever. I don't know. So when Han Solo is like, now, I got your word on that, right? Not a scratch? I just get the feeling I'm never going to see her again. Like, that was supposed to be the Force, right? It was supposed to be, even Han's got the Force. And then it's like, fuck it. We don't want these kids to cry, right?
Yeah.
Mark Hamill has been the voice of the Joker for years, Meridian. Yeah, he's one of the best Jokers. One of the best. But, you know, that shit's about to be destroyed. Like, I cannot believe that we're going to get better and better and better. Because we thought that Jack Nicholson gave us a good Joker. Like, back in the day, it was like, oh, sure, Michael Keaton, the comedian, maybe he'll do fine as Batman. But this movie's about the Joker, right? Like, it's Jack Nicholson, fucking Jack Nicholson. And then you look at that sort of interpretation of the Joker, and it's like, it's a bit meh, right? Like, since then, so many people have just been like, let's do the Joker. And then, what's his name's about to just tear it all out of the water. No, not River. River died. We lost River, unfortunately. Joaquin, right? Damn! It's gonna be good! It's gonna be really good! I'm really excited about this! And who else is in it? Do you remember? Fucking someone! He was like, someone was bragging about how they were in this film, and they were with Joaquin Phoenix and someone else. I'm hearing that Robert De Niro's in this movie.
What?
Is that what you're hearing? Are you hearing that Robert De Niro is in Joaquin Phoenix's Joker?
Wow.
Am I making that up? This is going to be the fucking best movie of all time, isn't it? Do you mean in Star Wars canon? Yeah, in the Star Wars canon, whether he's dead. The actors, characters, or actors from the original Star Wars canon. I'm not up to date on all that stuff, says Meridian Heights. I kind of lost interest a while back. Yeah, I've sort of had to take a step and a half back from my give a shit about Star Wars, and this is how much I still give a shit. That's what I'm saying. Like, I used to give a shit, man. I used to care, but then it just sort of got purchased, right? And bought and sold, and commoditized, and you know, I suppose that's what it was from the beginning, right? That's why I gave a shit as a kid, is because it was all about the toys. They were selling me the toys every fucking commercial break.
Yeah, you get sold to the commercial.
That's right. Advertisements is why I give a shit about what I give a shit about. They fucking totally use the tools that manipulate my mind. And that's why the fucking Star Wars morality tale is a better communicator with today's humans. You know, we talk about Martin Luther King and how he sort of had two lives, would you say? That Martin Luther King got up on pulpits and said certain things and used certain phraseologies and evoked stories that everyone knew, right? He used the Moses story predominantly to describe the plight of himself and his family and extended families. And then in private, you know, fucked around, right? So, you know, talks about Moses and the Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not commit adultery. And he's like, well, no, not us though. I mean, adultery can be fun, right? And so, you know, what's that about, right? And so, because I keep saying that his major flaw is that he relied on these old fucking crusty shits to fucking communicate his idea, right? I'm saying that that's a mark of patronization of your own people, right? You shouldn't require them to be a step behind you, right? Or you shouldn't even allow it, right? You shouldn't be like, you guys can't get to my level, so let me encode the message in something you'll understand. That's a patronizing moment. And that if he had been talking about, maybe instead of Moses, the current comic book heroes, or the films that were coming out at that time, or books, right? Then not only would he have challenged his audience to come up to date, right? Go out and get the books that I'm referring to and read them, educate yourselves, but he would have been able to tie himself into a larger audience, because the audience for the Bible is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. Like, it's just fucking, it's just, it's going to become a niche sort of understanding. And so, his speeches aren't going to resonate, right? Because fuck Moses, that guy was a weirdo, right? So here's a little story about Moses. Once upon a time, he went up in the mountain and met God, and God's like, hey, what's up? And Moses is like, well, you know, things are weird. God's like, don't worry, I've got all these rules, here's the rules, blah blah blah. And then God's like, oh, and by the way, those people down there are disobeying the rules. And Moses is like, but they don't know the rules, you just gave them to me. And God's like, go down there and kill him. Moses is like, okay. And then he'd go down there, and the passage is harrowing. It really is a very strange thing. He comes down and he just says, okay, everyone fucking turn to your neighbor and kill him. Like, it's just really bizarre. He's talking to the whole group, and then there's murder in the group, right? It's just disgusting. And thousands of people, I think, is what they claim.
Wow.
And then he's like, okay, I'll be back. And he goes back up in the hill, and he's like, okay, I done it. I punished them for a rule that you hadn't yet given them. You're welcome. And now give me the rules again, and I'll go take them down. It's just the weirdest fucking thing. It's just the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
So, that's Moses, and that's who he connected himself to, right? Like, why? It pollutes your message, muddies your waters, patronizes your audience, and cuts you off from communicating to the people in the future. So,
yeah,
I think
and the morality of the story you use kind of teaches the people around you you're agreeing with that morality.
Right. You're carrying forward a fucking crusty, hateful morality.
Yeah. And surely,
like you're enshrining it instead of criticizing it. Surely what? Surely what, Joe?
Surely women were being able to vote and considered more equal by Martin Luther King dying to be like, we don't like this story. Women aren't equal in it. You can't love who you love.
Yay! But
there's slavery in it.
That was 50 years ago, 2 generations ago, so, hopefully we've iterated our shit since then. Have you ever danced with the devil by the pale moonlight? That used to be some cold shit. Yeah. It used to be pretty good, right? And it still was a bit, at the time it was great. That movie was just fucking amazing at the time. I'm not saying he'd done a bad job. I'm saying, holy shit, they fucking took the Joker and ran with it, right? And one of the persons who done it is Mark Hamill. He was Mark Hamill's for a long, long time. The best Batman of all time might be that animated Batman from the animated series, right? Maybe not the Joker, Maybe our friend Heath Ledger done a really good Joker, right? But that fucking animated series was the best Batman. Nobody really got the sort of, he's just a rock, right? He's just I know I'm right, no flaws, he's just a weird character, the Batman. That animated guy might be the best. I liked Michael Keaton, right? And I think I liked Val Kilmer as Batman. But, like, no one's better than that guy, and I don't even know his name, right? Because Adam West, like, back then, that's just comedy, right? It's just really is a joke. So, no, the Joker was good. Like, he was good as the Joker, but then, you know, Tim Burton's sort of Joker was a bit weird. But there's never been a better Penguin than fucking Danny DeVito. That fucking shit is unforgettable. Good gracious. You see him fucking eat that fucking fish right in front of your face?
Yeah.
Right? It's gross.
Yeah.
I wish I could forget that. Light side, dark side, they're both equally opposite extremes. The Jedi know better than the Sith from a certain point of view. That is it exactly, correct? That's what we're supposed to be learning from this thing, but they've turned it into something that it's not, right? And so the prequels, fucking, I can't understand why the fuck the prequels were just a few years, right? It's like about the birth of it should have been about 1,000 generations ago. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
That's what the prequels should have been. Because I would like to see the Jedi as some really sort of strange and evil warlords that just set up the mythology that they were the good guys, right?
Yeah.
Because the point is, the Jedi can say only the Sith deal in absolutes and not even acknowledge that they just gave you an absolute. They can just walk around like no problem, right? And only the Jedi can do that, right? That special kind of twist where they don't even know that they're as fascist as their enemies, right? So, you know, it's definitely... I really, really do wish that that it was okay to question Leia. The new Leia that fucking slaps her general in the face.
Yeah.
I really wish we could be like, okay, do you see that both sides of this are perpetuating war? This is a choice made by both sides because they define themselves as warriors, right? And that's why we have war, is because the good guys are going to war, right? So they're the bad guys because they are saying, right? You know, it's crazy. But then again, the First Order exploded 5 planets, which was all seen by a 6th planet, by the way. I don't know how the fucking distances work in the Star Wars universe. They really have broken my immersion in that shit. Like, it was fine. It was fine when the Death Star just sort of got to Yavin, right? Like, we didn't have to talk about it, right? The Death Star was over here at Alderaan. Now it's over here at Yavin, and it's got to get around the planet, right? It's going to take fucking 15 minutes to go around the planet. It did some light speed or something, but it's still got 15 minutes left to go. We didn't have to fucking worry about that, right? But then, fucking Han looked up and saw 5 planets explode, just with his naked eye, and that's fucking crazy, isn't it? That's fucking nonsense. No one saw Alderaan explode, right? That just was over there, where Alderaan was. Obi-Wan was all like, what the fuck? What just happened? Something I've never even conceived of. Someone destroyed a planet, right? But nobody looked up in the sky and was like, what the fuck just happened to Alderaan? You can't see a planet from another planet. Like, fuck! Let alone 5! What in the fuck? These things are hardly even science fiction anymore, right? Like, they always were science fantasy, and that's fine. You know, light on the science, you know.
Right.
Because, you know, lightsabers, the Force, blah, 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 blah. You know, princess and fucking captive, and it's just, what's it called, right? That guy goes to Mars. John Carter, right? It's just, adventure, science, adventure, fantasy. Instead of science fiction, which is, we have these robots. They say they love us. What do we do now? Yeah, that's science fiction. That's fun.
Yeah.
Blade Runner.
Or, like, people traveling in space for, you know, generations.
Generation ships,
and
that's
some
right.
people wake up. And
That's right, that's
what do we
fun.
do about that?
What do we do? We're awake. We can't go back to sleep.
Yeah.
That, yeah. Whereas this is just like, time and space mean nothing. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, I love Star Wars. Still. Even though it's burned me so bad. Got burned so bad by Star Wars. Remember when fucking Leia was dead?
Yeah.
And then she was like, no, let's not be dead. I think that's exactly when Star Wars died.
For you.
For all of us.
Yeah.
It died. No, maybe for me.
One.
It could have been a little... Yeah. So, okay, have I given you yet my argument that Empire is not the best one? Have I done that yet on the show? Okay. I guess now's the time. We're talking about Star Wars. Because everyone says, right, the consensus is best Star Wars is Empire, right? And it's definitely not, because Empire had the seeds of everything that rotted that series. The stuff that's not in fucking episode 4 shows up in episode 5. The stuff that kills it. Luke, I am your father. Fucking Luke and Leia are hinted at being siblings and that. Like, the whole, oh, there's no such thing as coincidence really starts there. In episode 4, it was, there's just so many details, and it just goes off, and the world was opening itself up. The universe was, we were glimpsing into it. You don't get to see 1, 2, and 3. You're just thrown into the middle of this. You don't have to worry about catching up. You'll be able to understand what you need. And then it's like, okay, now we're telling this thing. Like, we're going to wrap up all the things. It started in the next episode, the promise of, no, this all made sense. Mm-hmm. Whereas the first installment of it was, you're never going to catch up. You know, like, you're not going to know all these pieces. They're lost to you, right?
Yeah.
So don't even try. Don't even care. Anything you guess will be wrong. So everything is, like, no one's connected. Everyone's an individual. And then all of a sudden, no, it's this family of magic users that's running the whole show. And so, like, that all begins in the next one. All the stuff that really sucks. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Starts in episode 5. So, by default, that makes episode 4 the best. Because it's got the good stuff without the shite in it. Yeah. Though the next one was directed better. I will give you that. It has a couple more moments, but it does have that really weird sort of scene with Han and Leia, where she's like, I'm not into it, and he's like, I know you're into it. And that is definitely what what's his nuts thinks of romance, right? That's George Lucas's view of romance. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very, very young sort of ideas. I totally, says I less than 3 trolling, I totally indeed intend to make the Obi-Wan reference. I totally intended to make the Obi-Wan reference, but I think Anakin's, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil line directly referenced the former. Right, so, when Anakin was getting his stories, right, when he was getting the fucking prequels, like, we were all like, whoa, be really, really careful, because this is a difficult story to tell. And very rarely is it told well, and one place that it is told well is in the Silmarillion, when you go and you read about Feanor, and about how that guy turned from sort of like the gifted, exciting new guy, and with just sort of whispers and just feeding on his jealousies, he just turned into this guy that made some really bad decisions, right? Mm-hmm. Just turned into just became as monstrous as that which he was fighting, right? He allowed himself to become as corrupted as that thing that he was trying to save us from, right? And, the world changed because of it. Like, the trees fell, and the moon and the sun were created, and the elves came over. He brought the elves over, and so, like, Melkor ran away. Like, the Feanor story is a great story of a promising magic user, Jedi, turning to the dark side without really noticing it, falling into traps that we could all fall for. And then Anakin just started killing kids, and was like, oh well, I wouldn't do that, right? And like, oh, I'd say no, thank you. Like the fucking he fucking kills Mace Windu, right? Is that right? Or he sits by. He doesn't help Mace. He fucking kills Mace Windu, don't he? And then the fucking Emperor's all like, I look like the Emperor now, and you're my bitch, and we're in the next part. And then Anakin's like, well, okay, right? Like, what the fuck? That's Anakin. Oh god. Oh god.
Bad story.
Bad story. Poorly written by bad authors. By good producers who think they're good authors and they're not. They're just good producers. Sorry. The Clone Wars animated series hits on Questionable Jedi in a few episodes. So were there 2 animated series? Are we talking about that very early one that was like Samurai Jack stuff with like Shaggy? Right? They were like 3 episodes. Because then there was that other one with Anakin and Obi-Wan. That's the... Oh, no. Yeah, that's the Clone Wars. What's the first one? It's called the Clone Wars, isn't it? I don't know.
All the names sound alike.
I know. I'm really behind on one of them. There's like I haven't seen Rebels, and I don't think I have not seen the Clone Wars because it's got a lot of series and like Anakin has a Padawan in it. Is that right? Is that the series that you're talking about, the Clone Wars series? Umbara, anyone? Says I listened through trolling, but then again, Krell was an arsehole anyway. Yeah, see, I don't know either of those names, so that's the Clone Wars, which is the one that came out right before episode 2 that, like, introduced us to General Grievous, right? He shows up in the last episode and just fucking lays out 6 Jedi at once. That thing was fucking nuts. That was some good shit. Return of the Jedi was the best. Revenge of the Sith second. Okay, I can see that. I can definitely see that. When I was watching them on VHS, you know, back in the day, back in the 80s, in the early to mid 90s, I think I would have agreed with you. Hey, definitely Return is the one I watched the most. Star Wars, the first half of A New Hope, bored the shit out of me. Until I was like 14. It was just so fucking boring. Everything on Tatooine, you know? Everything out in the desert. The thing, you know that scene where fucking Luke comes back to the fucking sand walker and, or the sand whatever. Doesn't really walk, eh? It's got treads. But, whatever the Jawas are, and like, they're throwing the Jawas on the fire, right? Like, it was just so boring. They're doing... The things that they're doing are so, like... emotional. The things they're talking about are so emotional. It's like... Luke just saw his fucking burnt aunt and uncle, and we, like, looked at it for a minute, and we're like, oh, shit! That was Beru! She poured the fucking milk. That's Beru. That's Owen, you know? That sucks. We were hanging out with them. And now they're on fire, and then he goes back and is like, "Hey, how you doing?" And everyone's like, "Yeah, so they're dead." He's like, "Yeah," and 3PO's throwing bodies on the fire or whatever. He's like, "Oh, so I guess I'm going with you." And it's just so fucking boring. Like, oh my god, it's how can you say these things in such a boring way? So, first half of that movie, I snoozed when I was under tweens, right? When I was, but I'd seen it a lot. I cannot remember my first viewing of any of those films. It was all well before I started remembering things, right? Like those are just movies that I've always been watching since I was conscious, cogniscient. And so yeah, I see. I can see Return of the Jedi as being the best. I think that the triple battle at the end of Return is very, very well done. I think that taking the narrative and splitting it 3 ways works very well for me. And I think they tried to do it 4 ways in the next one, in episode 1, and I think I didn't care, right? You know, I think it's like stupid. Because Amidala's running around and fucking Anakin's up in space and the the Gungans are having a battle out here. It's like, I don't fucking care, right? And the Jedis are dancing around each other, doing Jedi ballet and trying to impress each other and be like, I am the best of Jedi ballet! And I'm like, ugh, right? Whereas in return, the Jedi ballet is fucking Luke and Vader, and they're talking about Leia, right? And fucking that's how Vader totally gets Luke again, right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of that, Luke fucks up because Vader's like, hey, so, I know I can tell this time you are aware that you have a sister, huh? And Luke's like, shit! And Vader's like, your thoughts betrayed her too. And he's right! Like, it's so good. Like, all of that shit is great, you know? And it's Han down on the planet with Leia and 3PO. And that battle is a blast, and we got the fucking teddy bears and stuff, and nobody ever really bought the teddy bears, you know what I mean? Like, everyone had way more stormtroopers than we had Ewoks. Like, the whole accusation of like, they're just giving us teddy bears. Dude, they were ugly teddy bears, dude. They wore fucking bones around their head. They fucking used skulls as their musical instruments. They weren't teddy bears, dude. And they fucking died on that battlefield. We watched them. And we wept with them.
Yeah.
And so, you might be right. Return of the Jedi might be the best one. Because that finale is amazing. Just amazing, right? And fucking... And Wedge and fucking... Lando, right? Fucking taking out the Death Star. You know, Wedges everywhere is fucking cool, and Akbar, right? And the damn Super Star Destroyer smashing into the Death Star, that shit is rad, right? Like, that's some Star Wars shit. And how diverse our, rebellion has become at that point, right? Like, in the first movies, you got X-Wings, you got Y-Wings, and that's what you got, right? And then that, the rebel fleet that warps into the fucking battle, right? The Battle of Endor. That thing has got some crazy fucking ships, man. Some shit you ain't never seen before, right? And you're like, how could they even build something like this? And they look different, and there's a fucking weird fish guy in charge of the entire fucking fleet. It's rad. We're very, very diverse relative to who we were when we first arrived, when we arrived at the first Death Star with Porkins and Gold Leader, right? Yeah. So I love Return of the Jedi. I could watch that at any time, right? Any time. Better Off Dead, Goonies, Say Anything, Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back. I could fucking... I like to get in a car... my friends and I, who did the Star Wars, the musical together, many of us, you know, I like to get in the car with them. We just fucking listen to the audio, just the straight audio, not the soundtrack, but like the lines. We listen to that as the 2-hour album that we're traveling to. So yeah, could be the best one, but it really sort of, it could have been the last, right? Return could have been the last. We didn't have to prequels at all, you know? We didn't even have to special edition, man. Like, I don't know what the fuck happened. And I was around when that happened, and I've had long arguments since fucking 96 about how the prequels should not be made. You know, like...
Or the special editions with...
About how the special editions were bad news.
Yeah.
About how we wouldn't let Da Vinci fucking touch the Mona Lisa after it had been hanging for 10 years, right? You can make another one. You can call it Mona Lisa 2 or whatever, but don't go be touching this one.
Yeah, we're in love with this.
Right.
What we see here.
Right. I really do wish that that we could get the... I really hope that we don't have to wait for George Lucas to be dead before we get a fucking theatrical release version of of these films. I want to watch that. I want to see the fucking squares around the TIE fighters. Do you remember those? They were like these grey fucking squares. I want those back, goddammit. Like, give me the movie that I watched. Fuck. Let me have it.
Time to go to music break.
Oh shit. I'm getting the signals here from my Fanborn. Rogue One came out after episode 4, or 7, my apologies. Right? Between 7 and 8?
Feels like it, yeah.
Is that right? Shit. 8 seems so long ago. And so I was worried before it happened that we were doing, like, Rey's parents, right? My worry going into it was like, okay, so we're just going to follow all these connections, you know? Like, we introduced Rey, now meet Rey's parents, and it was a very comic booky sort of idea. And, I found the actual film to feel like it was edited, eh? Some of the science fiction parts of it were a bit hard to swallow, you know? The sort of window into the atmosphere seemed very, Spaceballs, you know? We've seen it before. And then the fight at the end seemed very edited. Now, as far as evoking a sort of the fucking Seven Samurai style, fine, right? A lot of it was very good and very pretty. But I couldn't get through a review. I couldn't get through it. It just was... It's... I don't know. But... And then, as far as, like, why did they do it, it's like, because they could. You know, like, they could fit it in. Like, at the end of it, it's Darth Vader, right? Fucking moving faster than we ever saw Darth Vader move, right? Like, that's the moment he decided to slow it down. You know, like, from here on out, I'll take it really slow. The next fight that he does with a lightsaber is with Obi-Wan, and it's the slowest thing in the world, right? Like, that's what... And in the direction for episode 4 and that thing, like, in the behind the scenes, you hear Lucas being like, now pretend like they're really heavy, the swords, right? It's like they're really, really heavy, these swords are like, they're hard to move around. And then that just went away, you know? So, you got 2 old men doing the slowest lightsaber fight in the world, right after he just blasts through that thing into the darkness and fucking murders all the rebels. So, you know, it's a bit weird. Tarkin looks terrible. Is that right? Tarkin looks awful in Rogue One. And I think that they travel too easily to places that they shouldn't be able to get. You know, where they're just on the overhang and they're like looking down and there's like this whole ceremony happening in the rain, and it just happens to be the ceremony where the bad guy kills all the fucking scientists, and we witness that, like, we're there. Like, her dad is there, you know what I mean? We're just watching. So, and it happens to be the moment that he dies as well, right? Like, that's just too much for me. Like, how they get in to that place, how they just happen to be there. And then, like, someone else arrives, right? Like, and they fucking go over it. It's just fucking... I can't stand that scene. Or that sequence. It's like, what is this? It just feels so, written, right? It just feels like everything we need to happen can just happen all in the same scene. Like, okay, let's do it. Okay, and then also, I don't really get how the fucking guy that we're supposed to be friends with, her boyfriend, you know, at the end, they die together, the dude, he's a bad guy. Like, from the very beginning, he's just a straight-up bad guy. I don't know why we're ever supposed to give a shit about him at all. I don't know what he does that supposedly redeems himself. I don't buy it, right? Like, he murders fucking... In the first scene we meet him, he lies to someone and murders them. He shoots someone in the back. That's our hero. And he never really redeems himself. But mostly, the biggest problem I have with it is at the end, that whole thing feels edited totally out of fucking sequence, right? It feels so bizarre. The fucking MacGuffin, what we've got to do with the MacGuffin, how we have to get there, how we got to do this one thing, and how we got to be here, you got to be there. And then it just like, that whole complicated thing just feels like noise that we actually don't even do, right? Like, there's a plan and we're following it, but we're not, and so-and-so has to do this or it won't work. And it's like, really? Is that right? Because that seems like it's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like it just is crazy and
Yeah.
arbitrary and stupid. So yeah, that's my Rogue One. As far as like Rogue One opening the door to Solo, the Mandalorian, the Obi-Wan stories, I'm glad it exists, right? I really want to get the fuck off mainline Star Wars, right? I want to close that goddamn book.
Yeah,
The
that
fucking
family.
stories of Skywalkers.
Yeah.
And I want to get back to where the Star Wars universe just invited us to fucking see new things.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of talk about what we've been talking about, right? And because that's what it is. I'm talking about things again for 30 minutes, ranting about old shit, right? I want to be talking about new shit, god damn it, don't I? And so, I was determined to like Solo, and I did.
Mm-hmm.
So there. Maybe I could get myself to like Rogue One. I think I might be able to. When this thing sort of shakes out and turns into a fucking comic universe, Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I could be like, I like this movie and here's why. And you guys are like, okay, cool, you know? Like, there's all of these movies, they're all crazy. Someone can come in here and be like, Doctor Strange is the best one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we fucking have that conversation.
Yeah.
And so I'm excited for when Star Wars is that. Instead of like, no, Empire's the best one, we all agree. Fucking cool. I like Solo because of this and this and this, right? Whereas that's not really an answer right now. You know, we've got to expand the universe a lot more. And so I like that Rogue One is the first...
Sideways.
First doorway into that.
Yeah.
Because maybe it wasn't. Maybe the Ewok Adventures were. I don't know if you've seen those, but they are a fucking trip. That's where we learn that fairies eat giggles. So, you know, there's a lot to learn in the Ewok Adventures.
Yeah.
And the holiday special. So, yeah. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I have to go here for a number of reasons. One of them is it's 1 o'clock. Another one is we're dropping frames. And the third one is I don't really have anything else to talk about. So thank you, Pastafarians. Thank you, everyone who hung out with us again today for the 43rd in a row episode. Mm-hmm. Season 5 has been all in a row, day after day after day.
Yeah.
And this is the longest running daily Pastafarian stream of all time. So world record there. We hope that Guinness will get in touch with us very soon. Mm-hmm. And of course, we'll be doing it tomorrow and the next day because that's how addictions work. I'm a slave to it. I can't stop, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much. We love you. We love your support. And we have for you music to listen to on the way out. I don't want to make you sad. Let's listen to this. So we'll see you tomorrow anyway. Bye, Pastafarians.
Wake up to the sound of your fleeting heart. Wake up to the sound of your fleeting heart. When you go, what you leave is a work of art. On my chest, on my heart. She went out to the haze in the morning grace. She went out and got lost in a tall hedge maze. Where'd you go, where'd you go, why'd you leave this place? On my heart, on my face. And my love is yours, but your love's not mine. So I'll go, but we know I'll see you down the line. And we'll hate what we've lost, but we'll love what we find. And oh, I'm feeling fine. We made it to the coastline. the signs of a slow decline. You live like your love wasn't meant for mine. Now you've gone to a different life, to a lonely side. Wake up to the sound of your fleeting heart. Wake up to the sound of your fleeting heart. When you go, what you leave is a work of art. On my chest, on my heart. And my life is yours, but your love's not mine. So I'll go, but we know I'll see you down the line. And we'll hate what we've lost, but we'll love what we find. And oh, I'm feeling fine, we made it to the coastline.